Hi guys. So I came across an article today that really actually pissed me off. So I thought I'd do an extra video this week just to talk about it. It's about being transgender. And it's an article from the TFP Student action. So they're for tradition, family, property. Yeah, I will link this particular article below in the description. You can have a look at their website. So it's 10 reasons why transgenderism is the family's worst enemy. So what the transgender revolution wants is self-destructive, tyrannical, unscientific, immoral, abusive, and unhealthy. Well, that starting sentence is wrong. They've got the science to back this up, which is why there are hospitals, which is why there are people who are experts in this field who treat gender dysphoria, which is people who are transgender, like when they have the gender reaffirming surgeries and stuff like that. So their first reason is transgenderism is tyrannical. So on May 13th, 2016, the Obama administration issued a sweeping diktat? I don't know. Ordering all public schools to allow members of one biological sex to use showers, locker rooms, and restrooms of the opposite sex. In one fell swoop, the federal government imposed transgender bathrooms on all public schools in the nation. States that oppose the measure have been threatened with severe penalties, such as the loss of federal funds. I don't know about you, but I was in hospital recently for a few days, and the bathrooms were for both genders, so it's nothing really new. I've been to petrol stations that have unisex bathrooms. There's been lots of places. What the transgender revolution wants is self-destructive, tyrannical, unscientific, immoral, abusive, and unhealthy. The legitimate concerns of parents for their children were brushed aside. The right to privacy and the importance of guarding our children's innocence were likewise trampled upon. How is allowing a person to express how they feel inside taking away another child's innocence? I've met a lot of transgender people, and I didn't actually know they were transgender until they told me. Unless you are specifically looking at their genitals, which I would say there was a problem with you rather than them. Yeah. The transgender movement, like Islam, is only satisfied with total submission. No, that is not actually true. The transgender movement just wants acceptance and just wants equality, like they deserve, like every other human being in the planet. Under this new tyranny, schools, universities, businesses, and even churches are no longer free to follow their moral principles. Christian morality is not tolerated. I actually haven't heard of any case where a church has been told that they have to have unisex bathrooms. This is in Australia. I could be wrong in other countries. Number 2, it fuels child abuse. Transgenderism is especially harmful to children. According to the American College of Pediatricians, the public promotion of transgenderism constitutes a form of child abuse. So apparently the College of Pediatricians said conditioning children into believing that a lifetime of chemical and surgical impersonation of the opposite sex is normal and healthful in child abuse. Endorsing gender discordance as normal via public education and legal policies will confuse children and parents, leading more children to present themselves to gender clinics where they will be given puberty-blocking drugs. This in turn virtually ensures that they will choose a lifetime of carcinogenic and otherwise toxic cross-sex hormones and likely consider unnecessary surgical mutilation of their healthy body parts as young adults. This form of child abuse must be vigorously opposed. Okay, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I'm 29, when I was growing up, there were no transgender people on TV. There were no, really, that I remember of the shows watching, there was no lesbian characters, there was no bisexual characters, there was no gay characters. That didn't stop people being transgender or gay or lesbian or anything. And what they're talking about, I don't even know if the American College of Pediatricians said this, but gender dysphoria is actually a lot different than people just saying, I want to be a girl for a day or I want to be a boy for a day. They have to go through a lot of psychiatric evaluations. They need pediatricians if they're young, or, you know, doctors who specialise in gender identity. They need all of this stuff, and it takes a long time for gender dysphoria to be diagnosed. So no, it is not child abuse at all. It contradicts biology and science, is their third point. Gender ideology contradicts basic biology, the same progressive movement that once worshipped at the secular altar of science the exclusion of God and metaphysics, and has turned against its own science is everything dogma. Now all scientific evidence that disproves the transgender narrative is discarded. However, the American College of Pediatricians is clear. Human sexuality is an objective biological binary trait. XY and XX are genetic markers of health, not genetic markers of a disorder. The norm for human design is to be conceived either male or female. Human sexuality is binary by design, and with the obvious purpose of being the reproduction and flourishing of our species. The principle is self-evident. Individuals with disorders of sex development do not constitute a third sex. Alright, I agree that people are born male or female, but with gender dysphoria, it is about gender, not biological sex. There is a difference. I am no expert in this, so I can't really talk too much about it. But there has been so many doctors in Australia, the Australian Medical Association, the Australian Psychological Society, lots and lots of people have said that there are differences in the body, like the brain chemicals. I'm not really sure how it works because I'm not really good with that sort of stuff, but they've actually proven there is a change of chemicals. Number 4 is biological sex cannot change. Those who embrace the transgender ideology pretend that man can morph into women or that women can morph into men, but their claim is false. It is physiologically impossible to change a person's sex since the sex of each individual is encoded in the genes. XX if female, XY if male. Surgery can only create the appearance of the other sex, explains Dr. Richard P. Fitzgibbons, MD, Philip M. Sutton, PhD, and Dale O'Leary in a well-documented study. These doctors affirm that sexual identity is written on every cell of the body and can be determined through DNA testing. It cannot be changed. Okay, first of all, I want to know, do these doctors actually, is their specialty gender studies or sexuality or anything like that? And there's been numerous studies, as I know the study they're talking about, and I believe that study has been debunked so many times, and there's a lot of studies, there's a lot of information about it. Yeah. It warps, their fifth point is it warps manhood and womanhood. Transgender ideology claims that biological reality does not determine one's sex. Feelings do. Therefore, the differences between male and female, much like the clothing we wear, are separate from our identity and are constantly in flux. Manhood and womanhood are mere labels used to describe what we see but lack any substantial basis. Feminist ideologue, lesbian and writer Simone de Beauvoir affirmed that one is not born but rather becomes a woman. The whole point of feminism is not so much to eliminate the so-called oppressive male class, but to abolish every difference between the sexes. Here we see how the homosexual, transgender and feminist movements are allied. They share the same final goal, the destruction of male and female, manhood and womanhood. No, that is not true, because not everyone is a feminist, not everyone is transgender, not everyone is homosexual. That's all I have to say on that. Number 6, it destroys reason. A fundamental part of logic and reason is the idea that things have a purpose. The purpose of our eyes, for example, is to provide us with sight. The wings of a bald eagle exist to provide it with flight. Our lungs exist in order for us to breathe and absorb oxygen, and our ears exist in order to hear. Likewise, the primary purpose of human sexuality is procreation. However, transgenderism, like homosexuality and feminism, deny this principle and therefore attack human reason itself, which is a form of deliberate madness. Again, no. I know lots of feminists have kids, so that throws out that argument. Not everyone's born homosexual, not everyone is transgender, and it doesn't destroy reason, as I pointed out earlier. Number 7, transgenderism is self-destructive. The homosexual movement shatters lives. Regret, despair, and suicide is common among those who adopt the T of the LGBT lifestyle. Yes, because they have people like this who are targeting them and are cruel to them, and it is dangerous for them not to get the help they need. Walt Heyer, a man who regrets having lived like a woman for many years, said, "I knew I wasn't a real woman no matter what my identification document said. I had taken extreme steps to resolve my gender conflict, but changing genders hadn't worked. It was obviously a masquerade." Well, then that person probably didn't actually have gender dysphoria. Transgenders not only annihilate their birth identity, Heyer explained, they destroy everyone and everything in their wake: family, wife, children, brothers or sisters, and career. Certainly this demonstrates the behaviour of some hell-bent on total self-destruction and self-harm. That only happens if you have a transphobic boss or a transphobic family. Much the same if you've got a homophobic boss or family. The stress involved with living a lifestyle that violates nature is apparent. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, 41% of those who identify as transgender in America have attempted to commit suicide. That's 25 times higher than the national average. I will agree with this, and that is because they don't feel right in their bodies. And there is something going on in their brains. There are chemicals in their brains that they don't feel right. And then they also get the discrimination like this article. And it's been proven time and time again in psychological studies. that if you experience bullying, if you experience discrimination, if you don't feel right in yourself, you have a higher chance of suicide. Number 8, where will transgenderism lead us? Trans species. If a man can pretend to be a woman, why can't he also claim to be non-human? Such a relativistic conclusion is regretfully here. It's called trans species, also known as furries or otherkins. People with species identity disorder consider themselves non-human and are featured at homosexual parades. The arguments used by the trans species movement to question their human status are essentially the same as those of the transgender movement. When feelings replace reality, logic dies. The intellect, the highest part of man, is degraded. The animal rules, and our godless culture pressures us to play along with these depraved fantasies. Once these disorders are regarded as normal, what can possibly resist the unbridled passion from introducing greater forms of depravity? What will protect human reason from further destruction? That is completely ridiculous. There is mental disorders out there where I believe where people think they're another species, and I believe that, that is not the same as being transgender, and being transgender has nothing to do with them because, like being transgender, these types of mental health issues have been around for a long, long time. It's just that people like to use this in this argument. Number 9, transgender ideology and religious persecution. Favoured by secularism, transgender ideology may spark the worst type of religious persecution as it imposes a perversion of the mind, beginning with small children. Those who oppose it are targeted by this new religion of equality, which obliges children to attend sensitivity training and gender indoctrination. Indeed, those who cheer the homosexual movement, whether they know it or not, are de facto servants of a new religion. No, it is called trying to stop homophobia. It is being open-minded. It is teaching children that people are different. And it is not gender indoctrination. It is trying to stop the discrimination against homosexuals and transgender people and all of that. It is not a new religion, and really, do you really want to go into religious persecution when LGBT people have been persecuted for many, many, many years? No. So it's doctrination, transgender ideology. It's false god, radical equality, and reckless liberalism. Its ministers, leaders of the homosexual movements, liberal media, immoral politicians, and sadly, dissident members of its clergy. Its inquisition, anti-discrimination laws that threaten order and peace, it's excommunication. Anyone who speaks the truth is labelled a homophobe or a transphobe. Yes, there should be anti-discrimination laws, and if you cannot live your life without discriminating against someone else just because you don't believe in what they believe or you believe they are wrong, then you shouldn't be trying to stop these anti-discrimination laws. You need to look at yourself and see what is wrong with yourself. No one is saying you have to be transgender. No one is saying you have to be gay. You just have to show basic respect for another human being. Number 10, it offends God. I wondered when this would come up. The desire to change one's biological sex not only denies reality, but also offends God. Nobody is born male or female by chance. But in accordance with a plan of divine providence, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you a prophet to the nations I appointed you. Jeremiah 1:5. God created male and female. Genesis 1:27. Therefore, to intentionally contradict the biological nature of mankind is an act of revolt against our Creator. Charity calls us to help those afflicted or confused about their own sex, not to increase their confusion by offering them a false solution. Charity does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices the truth. 1 Corinthians 13:6. Therefore, mercy can never stand in opposition to the truth, for only the truth can set you free. John 8:32. No. No. You can't use the Bible as a reason for this. Like, the Bible was written, 2,000 years ago? We've moved on from them. We've moved on from slavery. We've moved on from the way women, well, I hope women were treated in the Bible. And, yeah, it's the people who are helping people who are transgender are not increasing their confusion. They are trying to help, and they have done research, and the current research is that gender reaffirmation surgery is the only cure, and it is the best cure for that person's future mental health. Yeah. And what can we do to save the family? We must follow the angelic example of Saint Michael the Archangel. Put on the armour of God so that you may be able to stand firm against the tactics of the devil. For our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with the principalities of the powers, with the world rulers of this present darkness, with the evil spirits in the heavens. Therefore, put on the armour of God, that you may be able to resist the evil day, and having done everything, hold your ground. This bothers me because the thing is, people can have their own opinions, that's fine. But what people need to remember is behind all these things, these are just people writing words on a website. There are real people, and it is damaging to those people, to those transgender people. Yeah, I'm going to leave this here. It's been a really long video. I know it is a controversial subject. Let me know, if you've got any other arguments. I will link some articles in the description below. There's a really good one by the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, which is a world-renowned hospital, who've done a lot of research on this, and it actually explains quite simply what happens and what transgender is and all of that. Thanks for watching.